You pretty much did the introduction of myself. Just real quick to expand on that a little bit, we're a family-owned business. We mainly do barbecue, like John said, and I'm just going to be walking back and forth. I got some bacon cooking on the stove here, so if I walk away, I'm not ignoring you guys. Obviously, I went to CIA, classically trained chef. We kind of got into barbecue by accident. Our first website way back when listed pig roasts on there, and we got so ranked high on Google because nobody was doing them that we just kind of fell into this by accident and just love doing it. And I don't sit in the hot kitchen putting on a chef coat, chef hat all the time. I just get to go to different events and kind of hang out like I am now. Like John said, we're gonna do 3 different kinds of bacon. I don't know if anybody's ever made or cured their own bacon before, but we're gonna do lamb bacon. We're gonna do Canadian bacon, and we're gonna do regular bacon. Just a little bit on wood. I'm smoking this on cherry wood, and cherry, I'm sure you guys know, goes really good with any kind of bacon. So, but you can use anything. If you want a stronger flavor, you can use hickory or whatever else you want to use. I'm using, I have a Southern Pride giant smoker that can do like 300 pounds at a time, and that's out in my trailer. So I figured these would be a little better. These are Pit Bosses. I got a Pit Boss upright smoker, and I got a Pit Boss regular grill. Not trying to shill for Pit Boss, but they're great. If you wanted to have something quick in your backyard or even your restaurant, you don't want to invest in a huge smoker. These things work pretty good. They work on the pellets. So like I said, we're going to be doing pork belly bacon. We're going to be doing the Canadian bacon, and we're going to be doing lamb bacon. Lamb bacon is something I started doing a couple years ago. We did a trip to Iceland, and I loved the lamb there so much, and I thought, why not do lamb bacon? So it's really, really rich. I mean, you can't eat 12 pieces of this like you would regular bacon. It's pretty rich. So tell you kind of a little about how I prep the meat. The pork belly, I leave the skin on. I really don't trim it. The skin is much easier to take off after it's out of the smoker and it's warm. If you have great butchering skills and you want to take the rind off beforehand, that's awesome. I am not that awesome at that, so I take it off at the end. The lamb. So I don't know if anybody's ever used a lamb breast before, but it's fatter at one end, skinnier at the other. So I really don't like using chemicals and stuff, but what I do is I take 2 pieces of the lamb and put the fatter side against the skinnier side and vice versa. And then I use meat glue and put some on there and put a weight on it overnight, and it forms one even sized piece, which makes it smoke a lot better. And on the pork loin, I just take a whole pork loin and cut it in half. I have a vacuum sealer that won't fit any bigger than a half a pork loin. It's a chamber sealer. So, and my wife's putting some pictures up on the screen. Hopefully you guys can see them. We can talk about brines really quick. Anything that you're smoking really should be brined. It does a couple different things. It adds flavor to it. It adds preservatives to it. All you really need for a brine is salt and water and a little sugar. And you can put anything, any kind of flavoring you have in there. What we're doing with the pork, we're doing 2 kinds of pork. We're doing a molasses with brown sugar, and we're doing an Asian style. The lamb, we're doing a molasses and brown sugar with a little bit of rosemary in it, since the rosemary goes so good with the lamb. And the pork the Canadian bacon is an apple and maple. As far as timing on brines, the general rule is about 5 days per inch of meat. You don't want to over brine it because it's going to get salty. Um, so the pork loins brined about, the last time I did this, I did it 14 days, and my friend who gave me this recipe said try it for 21 days. So I did a 21-day brine, and I really liked the way it came out. The lamb, I did a 4-day brine, and the pork, I did a 3-day brine. Okay, so once you brine it and it's out of the brine, you want to rinse it off really well and get that salt off of there. Once you do that, what you want to do is take a towel, pat it dry really, really well. And then you want to put it in the refrigerator. If you can get it close to the fan, get it close to the fan. Put it on a sheet pan with a wire rack under it so you can get airflow around it. And you want what's called a pellicle to form. So what the pellicle does, it allows smoke to penetrate the meat and also seals in the moisture and flavor. So you want to do that for about 24 hours. And when it comes out, and really the way to know the pellicle's done is obviously the meat's going to be a little bit dry, but you want to touch it and it's going to be nice and sticky. And that's how you know it's good. So the way we did this is the pork bacon, we smoked at 225, and you want to bring that up to about 150 degrees. That took about 2 hours or so. The lamb bacon, I smoked that at 170 and bring that up also to 150 degrees. And that took about 3 hours. This was a little thicker. I wound up having to turn the heat up a little bit just to get this done. And the Canadian bacon, you can do 2 different ways. If you're going to put it in a saute pan or a grill or anything and use it when you're slicing it, then you want to cook it at 225 up to 140 degrees. And if you're just going to use it later, just slice it cold or just warm it up really quick, you can cook it at 160 degrees. So I've already done some of this. I'm going to take some out of the smoker. I'm going to come a little closer to the camera so you guys can see this. So this is the pork bacon. Can you see that? Can you guys see that?
Yeah. Yep, it looks good.
So, and then
making us hungry.
This is the lamb bacon. And then Canadian bacon. So these are about the size pieces I do this in. And then once they're done and out of the smoker, what you want to do is wrap them in saran wrap once they come to like room temperature, and then refrigerate them overnight. And then you can slice them. Just real quick, back to the brine. You can use pink salt in brining this stuff. I don't use it at all in the pork and the lamb bacon. The recipe that I have just never called for it. My friend who did give me the Canadian bacon recipe did have it in there, so it's going to get preserved a little more. But if you cut it into pieces like this and vacuum seal it and freeze it, you can pull out small pieces at a time, and you don't have to worry about the how long it's going to preserve unless you're going on like a 14-day hike or anything like that.
David, I think Ray has a question.
Sure.
A question. I have a client who gives me Himalayan salt, which happens to be pink. Is there a difference between pink Himalayan and the pink salt you're referring to?
Pink salt is curing salt. I'm not sure exactly what's in it,
Okay.
but if you've ever made sausage, maybe John can expand on that if he knows. But the pink salt, not only you can substitute regular salt for pink salt, but the pink salt has a preservative in it that'll help preserve the meat.
Yeah, Aaron's got it. Sodium nitrate. It's the extra nitrate that's in the pink salt.
Okay, thank you. There's another question on chat.
Yeah,
Want to hold them to the end?
Millie wants to know what the meat glue. I know that's available commercially. Have you seen it available anywhere else?
You can get it on Amazon. That's where I got mine. You can get anything you want on Amazon.
Okay.
What I used is called Moo Glue. There's a couple different kinds. You got to kind of read the description on what you're going to use it for. I had some old stuff and it didn't quite work that awesome, so it kind of separated out. But I mean, you probably can't see as close on this one, but I mean, you can see how even that is. But if you look close at the meat, you can see the narrow side and the thicker side. I mean, you don't necessarily have to use it if you don't want to, but in my personal opinion, it makes it cook, because it cooks in such a short time, and you want to get some smoke flavor in there. So if it's really thin, it's going to be done in 45 minutes. So at least if you make it even and a little thicker, I mean, I'd say this is probably 1.5 inches or so thick. You can, it's going to smoke a little bit longer. I didn't show you the inside of the Canadian bacon, but you can see the inside of the Canadian bacon.
You can see a little bit, yeah.
Um,
And David, for the brine, I've always been taught a cup of, for easy remembering, I've always been taught a cup of salt for every gallon. A cup of salt for every gallon. Is that?
Yeah, that's about right. I mean, you have to adjust it a little bit. Like, for instance, the Canadian bacon, the brine in that is apples cooked down, and then apple cider added to that, along with water. So you just have to make your adjustments. If you're putting in any other kind of liquid, you just want to make sure that that gallon is reduced by whatever else you're putting in there.
Okay.
But I mean, as long as you have that basic, I've done this bacon in like just a salt and water and sugar brine, and in my opinion, it's too salty. I like adding other things into it, like especially that goes good with it. Pork and maple and brown sugar. I mean, you can't get any better than that. And the same with the lamb. Add in some rosemary to it, and the apple along with the pork loin. I mean, it's pretty classic flavors, but I've done, I do one with juniper berries and rosemary, and it's more of like an herbal kind of lamb. I'm not a huge fan of that one, but I have made it. The ones I made were my favorites. So like I said, once you've ever made this bacon, you'll never buy store-bought bacon again in your life. So the lamb bacon, like I said, is really rich. And so I cooked up a little of that. It's not going to get crispy like regular bacon. Because also you got to remember, if it's salty, when you take it out of the smoker, once you cook this, it's going to get more salty. So, you just got to be a little careful on the salt. And the bacon, I like cooking it a little thick and basically just browning it. I mean, it's cooked. You can slice this right now and eat it.
Okay.
It's not going to hurt you. But once you put a little caramelization on it, it just gets even so much better. I mean, that's pretty much my quick thing. I mean, I hope you guys, if you've never made this before, just give it a shot, even if you're doing it at home. There's ways, even if you don't have a smoker, there's ways you can take these pellets that go in these smokers, and they sell these tubes that look like they're a little longer, like a toilet paper roll, a little bit longer, and they got holes in them, and you can fill them up, light them, and you can throw it, you can throw it in a rondo or something and throw a lid on it and smoke something in the oven, and you're going to get the smoke in it, or, whatever, a big roasting pan or something, cover it with foil and, throw the smoke pellets in there. It's going to take a little more tending if you're going to do it that way, but this is pretty much put it in and you're done.
David
So
Millie wants to know if does it dry out if you keep it, or how long will it hold?
I it's never lasted long when I've made it.
That's right. Yeah,
So
that's the best answer, right? Yeah.
I can't tell you, but I like when I make it, I'll make a big batch and cut it into like pieces like this. Or like this is pretty big. Like this, I'll normally cut in half, and then like I said, vacuum seal it. And if you want to make a big batch, make a big batch and freeze it. I'll usually when I make it, I'm generally not making it in these. I'm generally making it in my Southern Pride that holds like 300 pounds of meat. So
Sure.
it lasts me a little bit longer when I put it in there.
Mhm.
And I only use this for special occasions. So
And last question from me: any tips for any of the chefs or people that want to be chefs out there for selecting your meats in terms of quality? Anything that you look for in particular, either in brand or in grade or anything in particular?
Or a level of
yeah,
fat.
Or there you go.
well, the more fat, the better, especially with bacon. So, I mean, personally, I get most of my stuff at Restaurant Depot, and the lamb I had a real hard time finding. With all this COVID stuff going on, there seems to be a big shortage of a lot of stuff out there. And I actually found the lamb at my local supermarket and ordered it from them.
Okay.
Obviously lamb's fatty, pork's fatty, pork loins are lean. I didn't trim the pork loin at all because there's a little bit of fat on it, and I kind of like that little bit of fat.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't trim them at all. It's unless there's like silver skin on it on like the lamb, but there's not on the pork belly or the pork loin. Sometimes the lamb does. So you might want to trim that a little bit, but
And
not really.
And Ray asked a question about the difference in whether it's in style or temperatures, cold smoke versus hot smoke. I remember you saying you were smoking it at 250 degrees until it reached
225.
225 until it reaches
Yeah.
150, right?
And the lamb was 170.
Okay.
So I've truthfully, I've never cold smoked anything before. I know a lot of stuff that's cold smoked would be like if you want to make like smoked salmon, like lox type salmon,
Right.
or you can do some fish like that. There's a little more involved in cold smoking as far as food safety goes. So if you're going to do it, do a little bit of research. There are some critical temperatures that you just got to be careful of at that cold smoke temperature. So I haven't ventured into that. Maybe you inspire me, so I'll try that next time. I did try smoked salmon the other day for the first time. I got like a half a salmon fillet, half a side, and smoked it. And I brined it in vodka for about 4 hours, and then put some brown sugar and some dill on it, and just let that sit for a couple hours, and then smoked it. I smoked it like at the 170, 180 degrees, and it was pretty amazing. I've never tried that before, but it came out pretty good.
Awesome.
So that's pretty much it on the bacon. I do want to talk a little about OBR if nobody has any other questions. So Operation Barbecue Relief it's a disaster response group. We were founded back in 2011 after there was a big tornado outbreak back in Joplin, Tennessee. So a couple backyard competition guys. One worked in insurance, so they definitely weren't food professionals. They just did competitions on the weekends. They looked at each other and said, "Hey, we got to tow our rigs in and feed people." And I'm going to refer to some notes just so I make sure I get this right. So they towed their rigs in thinking they were going to feed a couple hundred people. And in a week, they wound up feeding 12,000. And it was just born there. They looked at each other and said, we have something there. So as of now, we've done 3 million disaster meals. The last big deployment, we were actually in Fort Lauderdale, sending meals over to the Bahamas after Dorian. And I was actually down there, and we were at the Fort Lauderdale Executive Airport, and we got I don't know if it was donated to us or what we did, but there was an old World War II troop transport that came in, and we'd pick the meals up each day, twice a day. We'd load the meals in, and they'd bring them over to, and I think my wife's putting some pictures up right now, if you can see them, about, some of the smokers, some of the deployments and stuff like that. So we flew them over, and then we had a couple people on the ground over there who, were spending 3 days at a time over there, and then coming electricity. There was no air conditioning. The water was tough. And so we were flying those meals over, and that was our first international deployment. And also we hit 3 million meals there. So I think there's a picture in there somewhere of us signing the box that went over to the Bahamas. That was the 3 millionth meal.
Wow.
After Harvey, we did just during Harvey, we did 370,000 meals for that deployment. I was also down in Panama City for Michael last year, and we were split into 2 sites. We were in Panama City. We had another location in Tallahassee, and we were doing 35,000 meals a day.
Wow.
We were doing majority of those from our site, and it's something to you gotta witness it to see it. One of our founders, Stan Hayes, was nominated by CNN as one of the heroes, top 10 heroes back in 2017. So just a few more minutes on this. So we've transitioned a little bit from disasters to also doing first responders, military fight on childhood hunger. And we did a deployment for COVID. It was extremely tricky logistically wise with masks and how far you could stay away from each other. I mean, as you all know, working in a kitchen, trying to stay 6 feet away from each other is kind of tough. So what they did, it's called the Restaurant Relief Program. And I was part of it. So what they did is they gave us the food to make the meals, and then they gave us a dollar figure per meal. It helped us bring back employees. It helped us, because we were shut down, it helped us, reopen back up, give us a little bit of money, and in also helping the community. So I think, did you put up those? My wife put up a sheet that kind of gives you a little bit about how we did the Restaurant Relief Program and kind of what it did. And I can make these available to John if anybody wants to. That was kind of tough on the screen to read it, but I can send him this and he can share it with you guys.
And David, what you can also do is just type in the chat as well, what the location or some of the details, if anyone wants to help get involved.
Okay. Yeah, I'll put it's my wife can type it in. It's www.operationbarbecuerelief.org.
Okay.
That's our main website. You got to type it in the chat though. If she doesn't figure it out, I'll get it to John.
Yeah, no, you can do it after you finish here. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. So if anybody wants to get involved in it, there's no obligation. You can download the app. It's OBR Volunteers is the app. You register as a volunteer. There are some things you have to do in order to volunteer. You got to do a background check. The Operation Barbecue Relief will pay for the background check if you don't want to, or I think it's like $15-20, and then you just pay for it yourself. And then there's a few more things they're starting to require us to do. There's a little bit of FEMA training that we have to do. And then there's also some internet security training that we have to do. But you register and then you'll get notifications. So, and we do fun stuff too. We were in Miami for the Super Bowl last year. The past 4 or 5 years, we've been working closely with Guy Fieri. He saw us out at the wildfires in California, and he actually brought us in to do the wildfires out there. And so we do his Super Bowl party every year, help out with other restaurants that do it. So we were down in Miami last year. I actually got to go to Atlanta the year before and cook there, and it was kind of cool. But we do like benefits for the Army Navy game. We do a lot of fun stuff. Obviously, this year a lot of stuff was canceled, but we do a lot of fun stuff too. So if there ever is anything either disaster related or non-disaster related in your area, if you get the app, you'll get a notification. And if you want to register to volunteer, you can register to volunteer, and you can put, if you have 4 hours, come out for 4 hours. If you have 3 days, come out for 3 days.
That's great.
Yeah, we were down in Fort Lauderdale. I flew down to Fort Lauderdale. My daughter, who goes to school at Nova down there, came and volunteered, and then my mother flew down. So we actually had 3 generations of us volunteering. So it was pretty cool. So that's the basic gist of it. I would love you guys to go check out Operation Barbecue Relief. If nothing else, just check it out. And you know, if whatever guys you have restaurants down there, if anything ever happens, and I'm sure it ultimately will, down in the South Florida area, you know, we're always looking for people to help.
Thank you so much, David.
So,
really,
thank you for having us.
Very, very informative, and appreciate anyone that does as much volunteering as giving back as you do. Engagement with the community is a huge piece of what the ACF does, and so appreciate that partnership.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. All right.